Welcome to the Female Founder Unplugged podcast, a show for women entrepreneurs who want to build, grow, and lead successful businesses and high-performing teams. I'm your host, Lindsay White, leadership coach and people strategy expert, here to bring you unplugged conversations with a variety of amazing guests who share expert advice and real actionable people strategies for your growing business. Ready to get unplugged? Let's jump in. Hey, welcome everyone. I got a great episode and a great guest here today on the Female Founder Unplugged podcast. We had to pause and I was like, hey, we actually need to hit the record button because my guest Laura and I were talking about like some truly epic shit. And, I needed to actually make sure that we captured this on a recording before we got too far ahead of ourselves. Laura, thank you. I'm glad you're here as a guest. We always have the most remarkable conversations. Thanks for joining me.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. It's a blast.
Yeah, totally. It is a blast. Every time we talk, it's epic. Tell us about you. You introduce yourself. You need no
Yeah.
introduction.
Well, I don't know that I'm there yet, but we're certainly working towards it. So my name is LauraAura. I am a keynote speaker and a coach. So rewind for a hot second. I've been an entrepreneur for 17 years. 17 of those guys I have been in this game. I actually started my career as an entrepreneur as a graphic designer. I first designed yellow page ads for the phone book. So
Not
let me
really.
put a date stamp on that shit.
Love it.
In that job, I knew that I wanted to connect with people more. And I'm a free spirit and I'm very independent and I have a lot of ideas. So I'm like, well, I'm an entrepreneur. So I quit that job when I was 6.5 months pregnant. I started my first business, which was a branding agency. And I ran that agency for 16 years.
Wow.
Alongside the agency, though, I kept getting pulled into these like side conversations with the founders that I was working with. And they wanted to talk about the really big ideas that everyone in their world was trying to talk them out of because they were too big or too gutsy or too extravagant.
Yeah.
They wanted to talk about the stuff that kept them up at night. You know, what's wrong with me? Can I do this? Everyone else is so much further ahead of me. I feel stupid right now, right? Like just all these thoughts and feelings that entrepreneurs just live with and feel like there's something wrong with them because they think that they're the only one. And I got to tell you, those conversations just lit me up in a way that I had not been lit up in a while. And I started to get asked to speak at events and lunch and learns and chamber of commerce stuff. And I got to tell you, the scales started to tip. I thought I would have that agency until the day I died. And turns out that season was starting to come to an end. And so last summer, I hit a fork in the road, a real hard one, where someone asked me to speak at a women's event, which typically I would be like, absolutely, when and where. But they were like, can you talk about branding? And I said, no. And I was like, whoa. There's a little soul searching about to be had here.
Yeah, where did that no come from?
Yeah, I was like, I gotta sit with this for a hot second. And this is one of the things that I recommend to everybody is when you're feeling something, give it a second to marinate. Give it a second to like process. And so I dissected a little bit and I was like, oh my gosh, I think my career as a designer is coming to an end. And I was like, that's terrible. I've spent my whole life building this career. This is what I'm known for. This is where my income comes from. This is what my reputation is built in. This is what I know how to do. And then I was like, but Laura, what do you love to do? And I'm like, I freaking love to speak. I feel like I make a way bigger impact through my words, through my energy, through my knowledge and helping and supporting other people. I just light up like a Christmas tree when I have the opportunity to do those things. And I was trying to build myself as a speaker and it wasn't working because guess what? I didn't have enough time or energy or resources.
Yeah.
So long story short, I sold the agency a year ago as of recording right now, a year ago right now. And I've been a full-time keynote speaker and a coach ever since. So here we are.
I love that. And I can just say, I was on Laura's podcast as a guest not that long ago, and she really is a very powerful and compelling coach. You hold a great presence.
Thank you.
But I really appreciate like this moment where it was like, wait a minute, where did that holy what the hang on a second. I gotta like that was unexpected. I need to think about that. I need to do
Yeah.
some self-reflection. That that is really key. That
It
is
it
really key.
it so is because, the standard, the expectation is, well, you've already put so much into
Yeah,
this. How
yeah,
could you possibly change your mind? You've
yeah,
invested a lot of time and
yeah.
money and energy, and you've told people about this, and people are counting on you. And I mean, I could
Yes.
I could write a whole novel on excuses as to why not
Yep.
to.
All the
But
should. I
all the
should be
shoulds.
doing this. I should be meeting
Hmm.
expectations, right? Yes. You
But
start
for,
shooting all over the place.
yes, and friend,
Yeah.
all you need is one reason, and
Yeah.
that is your gut is telling you it's time to
Yes.
do something different.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that you need. And
Yeah.
when you're willing to lean in and trust that and take that action that supports it, it leads you to things that you can't even calculate in your brain right now. So
Yeah.
many opportunities that just start to form because now you're getting further into alignment.
100%. I love that. I love that idea of like follow your nose.
Yep.
Follow your nose, right? The universe is conspiring for you. And if you just lean into that, if you just listen to those whispers, it's going to take you in the right direction.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I call a gutsy move. So
100%.
that's what my keynote's on. That's what my brand is all about, is about making gutsy moves.
Yeah.
And it's this silent strength and a bold move forward.
Mhm.
I have evaluated what gutsy means to hundreds of people at this point, and when I boil it all down, it's a silent strength, meaning the
Mhm.
thoughts, the conversations you're having with yourself, the oomph that you get, that nudge that you get pulled towards, and then a bold move forward, meaning I'm taking action that supports that thing, even when I don't have it all figured out, when nobody believes in me, I'm flying solo, you know,
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know where this is going or if it's going to work, but there's something in me that believes that it can. And
100%.
when you make that gutsy move, you really open yourself up to incredible opportunities. And this can be done on small scale, right? Little things,
Yeah.
and the big changes like selling
Yeah.
an agency and changing careers.
Yeah. Like, yeah, wholesale stepping into it.
Yep.
I love that. I love that. Well, and we were talking before we hit record about like if you've run a business through COVID,
Yeah,
that you are far more likely to just do it. And you're far less likely to engage and entertain the BS that goes,
absolutely. Yeah,
right?
we were talking about, like what we were both seeing for next year
Yeah.
for ourselves and our businesses, and it was
Yeah.
strangely in alignment, but not so strange at all. That we both have been in business for multiple years at this
Yeah.
point. If you've gone through COVID, you went through that turmoil, right? We were all holding on for dear life and
Yes.
doing a lot of stuff and working hard
Yeah.
hours and figuring things out and being extra creative. That I feel like now in this season, now that we are, gosh, 5 years
Yeah.
post pandemic,
Up to it. Yeah.
I my tolerance for bullcrap is just non-existent. And so if it's not amazing, I don't want it. And
Yeah.
I'm no longer ashamed to say that.
Yeah.
Gosh, we've been trained as a society, and especially as women, like,
Yes.
don't flaunt what you want, and don't be too loud, and
Yeah.
don't be happy with what you have. And excuse me,
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that everyone else was making my decisions for me. Would you also like to pay my bills? Because that would be cool.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and I also wasn't aware that I had to put up with shit that I don't want. Like,
Yeah,
where is that written down? Right? But
yeah,
so I think you're right. I think coming out of what was collectively one of the most traumatic events in several generations, right? Since the last big pandemic, I think it shifted our vision around our values and what our expectations are. I mean, it's nothing like a collective life-threatening event to make you reevaluate what you do and
yeah.
don't want in your life. Full
Well, I
stop.
think it brings clarity.
100%.
That gray area where you were, teeter-tottering back and forth or swaying or wondering, it's like, no, actually it's pretty clear now.
Be
And
clear.
even in the moments, I don't know about you, but even in the moments where I do have a moment of like, ooh, which way that time frame is substantially shorter. Like before, I would tolerate it for so long and put
Yes.
myself through misery for so long. Now I'm like, oh, there's a decision. Let me sit with this for a minute or two, sometimes overnight. Now I'm
Yeah.
making a decision. Now I'm moving forward. But it's because I'm really clear about what I want for my life and in my business. And I'm not willing to tolerate anything other than that.
Yeah. 100%. I do think, though, it is in those moments where we can pause, where we get quiet. We
Mm-hmm.
turn off the cell phone, we shut down the laptop, we sit in silence. That's the actual moment. But getting to that place where you can listen, you can tune in. I think that that's the key. I think we distract ourselves so much.
Oh, absolutely.
Just listen.
Yeah. When it's the stillness, right? We're used to going. We're
Yeah.
used to hustling. We're used to running businesses
Yeah.
and doing 30 things at one time and
Yeah.
sitting, being still, pausing is often very, very uncomfortable. We
For
we,
most people, I think
we
you're right.
well, and we also associate it with not being productive. And
Yeah.
so it's like, oh, now I feel bad because I haven't been productive today. Dare I challenge you that
Yeah.
that might be the most productive thing that you do,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
your decisions waterfall off of that. You get so much more clarity, you get much more tapped back in, you get the perspective that you need. And whether you take 10 minutes to sit with it or you sit with it overnight or sometimes longer,
Yeah.
let yourself do that. If it's not feeling like a hell yes, then you have to pause and let it
Yeah.
continue to marinate until it is.
I think that's one of the things that has become so clear to me is, and I am a people pleaser, just to be clear. I'm actually, we have a club, we meet every Wednesday, bring wine. Like I am a card carrying member. And so for me, saying no has always been hard. I want to make people happy, generally by sacrificing something that I need. But the idea that COVID has sharpened this, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hard no,
Yeah.
right? It's a thank you very much. And I think that has been something that I have absolutely been able to work on very diligently. And I actually did that just a big week ago. I had an opportunity. I knew it wasn't right. And I sent a very polite thank you, it's not for me email. And man, it's still tricky. It still feels a little uncomfortable. But really embracing the no has been huge since COVID.
Well, and I think that, being able to send that emails because you have clarity around what is right,
Yeah.
what is an
Yeah.
alignment, what
Yeah.
you do want in your business, who the right clients really are. And I think that does take time to figure out. I
Yeah.
mean, I've done my fair share of saying yes to things that my gut was like, "What are you doing,
Oh,
girl?"
Lord. Buy at a
I
nickel.
yeah, we would be sitting on a
We
beach
would
somewhere together.
we we would be in an entirely different conversation.
Yes.
Oh, Lord. Yes.
But I think you have to go through that stuff to figure it out. I don't think that you can always sit and strategize your way through that stuff. I think sometimes it's through the life experiences of like, oh, I felt something, I went against that didn't work out, got it, now I have more information.
Yeah, that didn't feel.
Or like you trusted, like this is not the right feeling for me, and you instantly feel better. Oh, that's my body saying yes, green light, keep going.
Yeah.
So being able to make those decisions comes from pausing long enough and working through and being super conscious about
Yeah.
what is right for you, because
Yeah.
it makes those yeses and those nos so much easier.
100%. I want to reinforce this point. If you're listening and you're a female founder like we are, and you feel like you are not able to make great decisions, you need to find the space to pause. Create
Yeah.
it in your calendar, block it off, turn off the distractions, and actually just sit quietly, right? You can close your eyes, you can do some deep breathing, whatever you think would support you, but you need to pause because that is where the decisions will come from. That's where the gut will tell you what to do. If you're not listening, you're going to be running around in all sorts of different directions that don't serve you.
And eventually it will make you listen, and it's
Yeah,
very
yes, yes.
very rarely in the way that you would like it. So
I
let
often
this
think, yeah, totally. I often think about the universe. It, first of all, it sort of taps you on the shoulder and then it gives you a nudge. and then it gives you a push, and then it gives you a slap, and then it gives you a punch in the face, and then it gives you a kick in the ass.
Yep.
So if you feel like there are increasing levels of like activity, pay attention to that.
Yep. You're going to get into the right space eventually. You can either choose to do it in a way where you're navigating
Yeah.
or the universe is navigating. And the universe is pretty it's pretty insistent on making sure that you get to where you're supposed to go because it always has your highest good
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
mind.
Totally. But I like honestly, I have seen it and I've experienced it over and over again where I'm like, okay, okay, I get the lesson. Oh my God, I've got it. I've got it. Don't get to that place where the universe is kicking you because you're not paying attention, right? Listen to the signals. Listen to the signals in your own body, right? I think that's something that we are often trained out of, and we
Yes.
train ourselves
Our,
back in.
our body is a powerful tool
Mm-hmm.
and it is a compass.
Mm-hmm.
It is forever guiding you. Your only job is to listen.
Yeah.
So something as simple as pausing in the moment. Let's say you're going to make a decision, right? To work with a client or not. We'll keep it kind of,
Yeah.
straight example here.
Yeah.
When you go to work with a client or they're saying, "Yes, I want to hire you," or, I want to hire you for your services. I want you to just pause for a second and notice how you feel in your body.
Yeah.
Notice, do you feel tightness in your chest? Do you feel restriction? Do you feel anxiety? Do you feel
Yes.
kind of that's your body's way of saying, this is not the right thing for you. Whereas if your body is feeling open and tingly and maybe a little butterfly, right? Anxiety can swing on both sides of the fence here. Maybe, but it's like a more of a giddy type of anxiety where like, oh, I
Yes.
don't, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm excited to try. That's very different than something's not quite right.
Yeah.
So just notice, I call it bricks or butterflies. Does it feel light, airy, fluttery, kind of like you're on a roller coaster? You want to puke a little bit? Okay,
Yeah.
that's your body's way of saying yes, keep going. Whereas intuitive bricks are heavy, they're deep, they're sinking. There's something not quite right, but I can't really explain it.
Yeah.
That's your body's way of saying, nope, turn around, go back. This is not the right opportunity for you.
I love the way you express that. And even when I think about like the nausea feels different, right?
Yes.
Like if it's like you said roller coaster, feel a little bit like I might throw up in my mouth, but I'm okay. Or I actually feel like I'm going to be physically sick, right?
Yes.
Like I have the flu. Those are two very different
Very, very
experiences
different
of nudge.
experiences.
Right. And I think that like that in itself, I'm like, yes, that is a real feeling. We can all identify with that because we've all had those experiences. And they feel very, very different. And the energetic space of that is very different. And the intention behind it is very different.
Yeah. And if you get used to just pausing and tapping into that
Yeah.
before you make decisions, before you go to do something, before you change something,
Yeah.
you're it's like building a muscle and
Yes.
it is your navigational tool, and you'll likely have to pause less because it's just going to be so increasingly evident that it's
Yeah.
there. I'm incredibly tapped into my intuition, so mine is very loud, but I've been using it for a really long time. I've strengthened it. But
Yeah.
if you practice pausing, feeling, and then deciding, you're going to make some really great changes in your business. And you have to have that gutsy to make the decision when it's a no. Like you said in that email, I mean, that takes a big deep breath sometimes. Like, I can't believe I'm about to do this, but I got to trust, right? It
Right.
takes that intentional movement to follow what your gut is saying.
Especially when you feel like, and I get this because I think we've all been there, when you feel like I'm walking away from work, like this could be lucrative. There's money to be made here, but I recognize that this is not aligned. It doesn't feel right. My gut is telling me something. I want to honor the fact that that's hard to do, especially as we're trying to build our businesses, that we got to, sometimes we got to walk away from work that
Yeah.
could pay some bills. And I get that. what is interesting, and this happened to me very recently, is when I walked away from one piece of work, two more pieces of work popped up.
Always.
You do have to trust and have that faith that the universe is on your side and it's sending you the right, and at that point it just reinforced, like, okay, that, like, what was I even worried about? Right? And bigger and more lucrative pieces of work that I'm going to be tingly about, right?
Yes.
Um,
And that you're going to have the space and capacity and the energy for now.
exactly.
And when you say yes to something that's supposed to be a no, oh my gosh, it's like carrying around a bag of wet sand. I mean,
Yes.
and it it
That's a
just
good metaphor.
it's tough,
Yeah.
and you don't have the energetic capacity to receive the right thing, and so
Yeah.
those right things can keep going.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
Yeah.
there's this ecosystem
Yeah.
happening in the back, whereas if you're like, oh, that's wet sand, that's not the right thing for
Yeah.
me, let me sit this one down
Yeah.
and open myself up to receive what's right,
I love
then you get those aligned opportunities that you're like, oh, I see why I was
it.
supposed to say no.
Yeah, I get it now. I get it now. The other thing that I have this year, for me anyways, that I have absolutely realigned my relationship with is rest.
Hmm.
I got hit super hard this summer with some menopause symptoms that actually knocked me on my ass. They took me out of the game for days and weeks and months at a time. And it completely redesigned my relationship with rest and what is and is not required. Speaking of being aligned with your body, right? Like that
Yeah.
physically, I was physically, well, and mentally. I mean, I had totally had menopause brain. Like I literally couldn't figure out what shoes to put on, right? Like it was bad. I'm not sure I should have been driving a car, quite frankly,
Yeah.
this summer. I may not have been completely present behind the wheel, but redesigning your relationship with rest at the same time that you're thinking about redesigning your relationship with your intuition, I think those two things actually fit very closely together. What do
They,
you think about that?
oh my gosh, absolutely. I mean, I've been in a state of burnout more times than I care to count or admit. And
Yeah.
it's all trained behavior.
Yeah.
It's
It is.
trained behavior. It's survival technique. It's the
Yeah.
way, again, you should run a business.
Uh,
And like we were talking about earlier, rest is uncomfortable because we're not used to being
oh,
still, you
yes.
know, and I think it's funny too, because sometimes when we think rest, we think it's like sitting on a chair and staring into the abyss. And I mean, that can be great in a moment's time, but rest can be doing things that make you happy.
Yeah.
Rest can be adventure or nature or trying something new or doing a craft or
Yeah.
joining a group. Like rest can be
Yes.
its own thing. So we don't even have to make it be something that it's not either. It's not all
Yes.
about bubble baths. I mean, that's great too, but like, I don't know, I want to reframe how we look at what rest actually is in the first
Yes.
place.
No, I
Rest is refueling yourself. And, you know, honestly, when I sold the agency, one of my very first like non-negotiables with myself was I'm going to build this business in a way that nourishes my body, not drains it.
yes. Yes.
Because the agency life, I was like a bathtub with the plug undone. Like the water was just going down the drain. There was a lot of draining happening, and I allowed it. Nobody did that other than myself.
Yeah.
So I've had to be very intentional about reframing what that looks like, rebuilding that relationship. And
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, when I first made the shift, first my body was like, "Oh, we're slowing down. Great. Here's COVID." So
Yeah.
I got sick
Oh, boo.
for the first time. I went through the whole shutdown and all that, never got
Oh,
anything.
oh,
2 months after I sold my agency, flat. Like I'm talking down, down, down for
wow.
about 2 months. It took me
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
It triggered actually a really big episode of depression for
Oh,
me,
bet
which
it did.
was incredibly difficult.
Yes.
Happy to be through that now, but
Yes.
I slowed down and my body was like, well, we got some repairing to do, so we're going to take you the whole way down and out. But as
Wow.
I started to get used to resting, I
Yes.
found myself getting really anxious, like
Yes.
sitting still. I was getting anxiety attacks, and I'm like, what in the crap is happening right now? And I'm like, okay, I need to transition. So this is what I did, and maybe this will be helpful for somebody.
Yeah.
I found that like sitting was not it for me, but I found that if I did something that was slightly productive or interesting or creative while I was sitting, then I started to build a tolerance for resting in my body. So I
Interesting.
started cross stitching. So I was able to like
Cute.
sit and like chill and heal my body, but I was using the creative active part of my brain by cross
Yeah.
stitching, which for me is kind of mind numbing. To other people, it makes them very anxious. So you got to find your thing. But I just found that if I did that for a while I was resting, then the anxiety was reframed into creativity and I was also healing. And now I can chill out or do something and
Yeah.
not feel that anxiety or that like pull to have to do something. I can rest now and I'm sleeping way better and I fall asleep hours before I used to.
Yeah.
It's been a process and a transition though. So you have to be really kind with yourself and find,
Yes.
okay, if this is not working this way, it's okay to like play with different methods to find
Yeah.
what might be helpful for me, right? I want to do something that's healthy and adding value to my life. Obviously, I don't want to put in something that's going to cause more harm to my body
Oh,
or form an
no.
addiction or, some of those
Yeah.
things you have to be really conscious about. So I'm just going to cross stitch this unicorn and and now I feel way better and now I have this cross stitched unicorn in my house. So,
Love it.
find what works for you and be really kind to yourself as you're doing it.
First of all, thank you. I mean, let me be clear. We didn't talk about this part before they hit record on this episode, but I really appreciate you sharing that because I do think for so many of us that we do go through stages where we hit the wall. And we do, at that point, we can go into depression. Our anxiety can ramp right up. And as someone who has struggled with both, it is incredibly difficult when you're in the bottom of that deep well. It is hard to see the light, and then you're not sure, is it actually the light or is it a train coming for you, right?
Yeah.
So I really respect that. And as someone who has an anxiety disorder, man, when that starts to ramp up, that is really scary. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that with us.
Of course.
I think for so many women, and this is true as female founders, but I also will coach women that are in corporate roles, corporate leadership roles. We redline. We're like an engine that is always in the red zone. And we are so accustomed to operating in the red zone, to having our RPMs so high that it is hard for us to gear down. And when we are either forced, like you were, to gear down, or we try and choose to gear down, maybe we recognize that the redlining is no longer serving us, that is really challenging. We can't get out of fifth or sixth gear to get back into third, and our RPMs still go up. And in fact, I know some women that are kind of addicted with that space.
Oh yeah. Well,
They
there's a
can't
high up
come
there.
out of that. That's really challenging. And so if you're listening and that's how you feel, is like redlining is a bit addictive, or I need to come out of it, but I'm a little bit concerned about what that looks like, know that it is okay to have that hesitation, and you can get through it, right? There are ways to do that, to gear down and find that space where you're operating at normal RPMs again. Redlining's not normal. That's
No.
actually not the way we're designed to operate.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. It
It's
might be it
not.
might be doing something for you right now. Your body won't sustain that.
No.
It just won't,
That is a direct
and
line to burnout. That is a direct line to full collapse
yeah,
and
yeah.
to doing
And
actual harm to your body in a pretty meaningful way.
well, and yeah, well, like we talked about earlier, how the universe will make the decision for you if you're not listening. I promise you you're getting cues right now.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Yeah.
You're just not listening to them.
Not listening.
So, I always tell my clients and the members of my community, I'm like, to going cold turkey on something, it sends your nervous system into a freaking freak out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so if you're used to redlining, the idea of like sitting on a chair staring at the water
Not gonna work.
is it's going to freak your system out. You're going to have a meltdown of some sort, or you're going to like
Yeah.
sit there for 3 minutes and then you're going to be on your phone or you're going to be on your laptop or you're going to be doing something.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have to find a transitional activity. And for me, literally was cross stitching. I'm not saying you have to do
Love
that,
it.
but you have to build a tolerance,
Yeah.
right? You have to learn how to work a different way. And
Yes.
that lets your body know, hey, this is actually safe. This
Yeah.
is enjoyable. I'm getting good benefits from this. I'm not flipping over the table and,
Yeah.
now I'm terrified because it's not the same. Even though you may not want to operate like that, you know how to. And that's trained your body and your brain to think that that's the normal way.
Yes. Yeah. And you can do it incrementally. I think that's the other part, right? And for so many of us, we do hit the wall. We hit that space of burnout, and then it's full collapse. And you're right. I think that sends your body. I think that sends your emotions. I think that sends your psyche, your saboteur, the trash talk and stuff in your head, sends it into hyperdrive.
Oh yeah, she gets real loud and
She gets
nasty.
oh mean. She is mean.
So
We are
so
so
mean.
mean.
Yeah.
Well, I think you can do it in steps and stages. I think that you can gear down slowly, slowly and find that way out. If you're in that situation, but you don't think you can do it by yourself, the best thing you can do is find a coach to help
I
you,
couldn't
right?
agree with you more. That
Right?
accountability, somebody to guide you, somebody to
Yes.
give you those techniques,
Yeah.
and to help you navigate that mean
Yes.
girl. I
Yes.
mean, it's
Yeah.
invaluable.
Yeah.
There's something else I feel really intuitively like my body is like, if you don't say this, I'm going to come out of you and hit you in the face. I have to acknowledge also that in this transition, being a words, being neurodivergent, right?
Yes.
Also really comes into play here. I don't know if you do, but I find that a lot of high achieving women also have
Yeah.
ADHD and ADD and
Yep.
and just different neurodiversities. Our brains work differently.
Yes.
And something that I've learned is that my brain can do about 30 things in one time. And sometimes I'm like, can you just not? Like for instance, this morning my neighbor's dog rather, barked at 5:30 this morning and woke me up. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll just roll over. And my brain was like, oh, you're awake. That's fantastic. I have some things to share with you. And I was like, not today. I don't want to talk to you. And immediately I'm thinking about four different things in the time span of one moment. And I'm also singing a song. I'm like, what are we? It's
What is
5:30 in the fucking morning. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, my brain is just hyperactive right now. Right. It's doing its thing.
that?
So instead of making it mean
Yeah.
anything, instead of shaming it, instead of
Oh,
um uh, just just beating it up, okay, let me just work with it. And I think that this comes into play when we're talking about redlining and learning how to rest and all this stuff. Like, again, a lot of our brains do this kind of ping pong thing. And when you can give it something that feels good, like rest to me sometimes is cutting down the rose bushes because it's winter now.
yes.
And, like I'm still doing something. I'm still quote unquote
Yes.
working, but I don't know, it just channels my brain in a way where
Yeah.
I'm doing something that's meaningful
Yeah.
and it's healthy because I'm moving my body and I'm outside, which I love to do. That always regenerates. So I don't know. I just felt really called to share that if your
I
brain
love
works
that.
differently than what might be typical, which what is typical, but
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
when you're experiencing neurodivergency, you have to learn how to work with your brain too. And so your rest can be something where you're doing something, and that let that be okay because that's how our brains work.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And I'm with you. Like, what is the typical brain, right? Like as a mom of out of my four kids, three of them are diagnosed with something along that spectrum. And
Yep.
in our broader family group, even more so. I don't know. That stuff's inherited. Do I have a little touch of the ADHD? It's quite possible,
Yep.
right? And I think you're right. Like I think we have to hold that gently, and be a bit of our own anthropologist. Oh, that's interesting. What's going on there? Instead of
Yeah.
judging it, get curious
Yes.
about it, right?
Yep.
What's the Ted Lasso, right? Be curious, not judgmental. And we need to live that out loud, but we need to live that for ourselves
We need to live that internally as well.
internally. And then respect that rest is an active state,
Yeah.
right? Rest is an activity. It could be a very physical activity that is different from what you, right? But it could, like, it can be a very active moment even if you're pausing. And I think
Yes.
that's the key part, is that we have to change our relationship with the idea of rest.
Yep.
So
Couldn't agree more.
I really think that's key. Um, Laura, we could talk about this for about 8 more hours.
Totally agree.
Uh, Really, thank you so much. Really, really pleased to have you as a guest today. Thank you for sharing personally some of your journey, but thank you for also sharing what I think are some really important concepts and also some very practical things that we can actually all take away and use. So I'm so grateful to have had you as a guest today.
Oh, thank you so much. I love our time together. The energy is always great. You've built a great community here, so I'm happy to be a part of it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Female Founder Unplugged podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening as much as I did hosting this conversation. I feel so lucky that I get to connect with such amazing female entrepreneurs. And if you enjoyed today's session, would you do me a big favor? Would you hit subscribe and give this episode a 5-star review? I'd also love it if you would share with your friends. We've got a goal here at the Female Founder Unplugged podcast to impact 1,000 female founders. And with your help, we can really amplify the message. Thanks again for being a part of the show. And don't forget to connect with me at highvoltageleadership.ca. We'll see you next week.